my opinion of a white nationalist, if somebody wants to call him white nationalist, to me is an American.
It turns out a Republican senator is racist. Who would have known? So Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville is facing a lot of heat over a recent appearance on CNN. So I'm going to get to an older clip where he says the same thing, basically. Then I'm going to get to the newer clip. Then I'm going to get to his reaction to the new clip. Then I'm going to get to more context around all of this and maybe some criticism around how the media is taking this. But first here, this is where a lot of the attention on Tuberville starts, even before this more recent clip. So from the New York Times here, Senator Tommy Tuberville, a conservative from Alabama, has been single-handedly blocking hundreds of promotions for high-ranking generals and admirals since February, refusing to relent unless the Defense Department scraps a policy that was instituted after the Supreme Court struck down the constitutional right to abortion last year, offering time off and travel reimbursement to service members who need to go out of state for abortions. So he is taking this very strict stance against any help to members of the military that may need help with getting an abortion. This is a position that not even other Republicans are taking. Mitch McConnell, leader, is not taking this position. So this is a Tommy Tuberville designed strategy here, which obviously has also led to him getting more attention, which I'm also sure is part of the whole strategy here. But this is where we lead into some of his more recent comments, and also, as I said, older comments about this. Biden's Secretary of Defense is moving to purge the military of white supremacists. So this has apparently been going on. This is an article from a couple of years ago, going on for a couple of years now. And Tommy Tuberville not happy about this. So he was first asked about this, at least from what I have seen publicly, back in May. Here are his comments back then.
You mentioned the Biden administration trying to prevent white nationalists from being in the military. Do you believe they should allow white nationalists in the military?
Well, they call them that. I call them Americans.
Tommy Tuberville is not stupid. He may sound like a moron, but he knows exactly what he's saying. He is racist. The company he keeps likely are a lot of white nationalists. He himself sounds like a white nationalist. To him, these are just Americans, which I find very interesting, considering, because he talks about in other clips, it may even be in the CNN clip, about, you know, the need for the military to accept everybody because it's really important to have a strong military. Well, this is from this year. Not the time to socially experiment with our armed forces. This is a Tuberville quote. He co-sponsored a bill banning trans soldiers. This is the guy that thinks white nationalists, Americans, they belong in the military. Trans people, no, not Americans, don't belong in the military. To him, white nationalism is perfectly fine. Being trans isn't. Now we get to the CNN clip. This is the more recent one from a couple days ago now, where, he basically says the same thing, even when pressed on it.
I agree they
A white
shouldn't.
nationalist is someone who believes that the white race is superior to other races.
Well, that's some people's opinion. And I don't think,
That's not
a lot.
opinion.
Pardon?
What's your opinion?
My opinion of a white nationalist, if somebody wants to call him white nationalist, to me is an American. It's an American. Now, if that white nationalist is a racist, I'm totally against anything that they want to do because I am 110% against racism. But I want somebody that's in our military, that's strong, that believes in this country, that's an American, that will fight along anybody, whether it's a man or woman, black or white, red, it doesn't make any difference. And so I'm totally against identity politics. I think it's ruining this country, and I think that Democrats ought to be ashamed for how they're doing this because it's dividing this country and it's making this country weaker every day.
But that's not identity politics. You said a white nationalist is an American.
It is identity politics.
You said a white nationalist is an American, but a white nationalist is someone who believes horrific things. Do you really think that's someone who should be serving in the military?
Well, that's just a name that it's been given. I mean,
it's not. It's a real definition. There's real concerns about extremism.
So if you're going to do away with most white people in this country out of the military, we got huge problems.
It's not.
We got huge problems.
It's not people who are white. It's white nationalists.
That have a few probably
you see the
different
distinction,
beliefs.
Right?
that have different beliefs. Now, if racism is one of those beliefs, I'm totally against it. I am totally against racism.
But
there's a lot of people
white,
that believe in different
nationalist
things.
is racist, Senator.
Well, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. But
it's
if it's
not an opinion.
racism, I'm totally against it.
This clown show is just amazing. Like this distinction that he's trying to make here. If that white nationalist is a racist, I'm against them. In other words, if that racist is a racist, then I'm against them. What does he, again, assuming he's not playing dumb, which I think he's playing dumb, but like, what does he think a white nationalist is? He's trying to ride this line here where he's both appealing to his white nationalist base while also trying to be, I guess, trying to be somewhat palatable to people who are not white nationalists. But you can't really ride that line. It's very clear that you're just racist. Now, he was questioned on this the day after, and his reaction here is just, he tries to walk it back, and again, you can't walk it back at this point, obviously. But the way he responds to this, he knows he's full of shit. This is a guy who tries to pretend, I just tell it like it is. Yet, when you're pushed on the things that you said, you clearly have no real defense of them.
Can you explain why you continue to insist that white nationalists are American?
Listen, I'm totally against racism. And if the Democrats want to say that white nationalists are racist, I'm totally against that too.
But that's not a democratic definition. The definition of a white nationalist is someone.
My definition.
It is the
racism
definition.
bad.
The definition.
Next
The definition
Next
is that
question.
the
Next
belief
question.
that the white race is
Racism
superior to all
racism's
other races.
Totally out of the question.
So do you
Next
believe that
question.
white nationalists are racist?
Yes, if that's what a racist is, yes.
All right. So, look, in terms of Tuberville's defense here, of course, ridiculous. And even when pushed, he's like, if that's what a racist is, he still can't say white nationalists are racist. And apparently he did later on to media in a different discussion. But this is actually my issue with that clip, is the press are trying to push him into a position where he can say, actually, I'm not racist, because I finally said, after being pushed a million times, that these people are racist, when he's already made it very clear that he's racist. The next question from the press should be, why do you think the military is stronger with white nationalists in it? Why are you a white nationalist? Why do you support racism? These should be the next questions, because he's made it very clear who he is. I don't understand why the media feels the need to push these people into positions that they don't hold when it's very clear who they are. Allow them to be who they are. Question why they are those things. That is the real way to expose these individuals, as opposed to giving them a way to go back later on and say, actually, I didn't say that because later on, after being pushed 1,000 times, I finally said that, no, I'm not racist. Like, it's a way for the media, like, in a roundabout way, allows these politicians to find any defense possible when there is no defense of themselves. So because they push them into that position where they finally just say something they don't actually believe. Tuberville is a racist. They pushed him into saying that he isn't one by finally saying at some point that white nationalists are racist. It's just, I don't know, not the job of the media, I think. But that goes to the end of that report here. So I want to show you the last bit there and another issue I have with how the media is reporting on this.
And 2 hours later, under repeated questioning, the senator changing his tone from his comments in May, telling reporters point blank, white nationalists are racist.
White nationalists are racist.
That reversal from Senator Tuberville not only coming after he faced repeated questions from reporters here on Capitol Hill, but also after Republicans clearly distanced themselves from his comments. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell saying that white supremacy is simply unacceptable.
So the report ends with essentially a defense of the Republican Party and Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell says there's no place for white supremacy in the Republican Party. The end. Next story. Like, no, there's maybe a little more context there. What has the Republican Party done? What has Mitch McConnell fought for? So a couple of those examples, of course, we can go down essentially, every single vote that the party has done or every bill they've led. But a couple headlines worth considering here. This is from about a year ago. McConnell, when asked, fails to denounce racist replacement theory, which, in case you don't know, is supported by the majority of Trump voters. So this also from around that time. A Yahoo News / YouGov poll showed that more than 6 in 10 Donald Trump voters, 61%, agree that a group of people in this country are trying to replace native-born Americans with immigrants and people of color who share their political views, a core tenet of the false conspiracy theory known as the Great Replacement. Less than a quarter of Trump voters, 22%, disagree with that statement. This is what the Republican Party is. This is what people like Mitch McConnell are. They're afraid to address this because they know this is their base. And many of them are those people. Another example, voting rights bill that was blocked by the Republican Party. So during that, this clip came up, which also got a lot of attention.
Well, the concern is misplaced because if you look at the statistics, African American voters are voting in just as high a percentage as Americans.
So that clip got a lot of attention at the time because it is clearly separating African American voters from Americans, as if they are not one and the same, as if African Americans are not Americans. But the deeper issue for me there is just the policy of it all, the actual impact on voters of color, and what the Republican Party was doing at the time to ensure that nothing was going to be changed around those policies. So this from The Guardian. Studies indicate that voting restrictions like those passed by 19 states in the past year disproportionately impact voters of color. This is what Republicans support. Voter suppression that disproportionately impacts voters of color. That's what Mitch McConnell is in support of. That's what he has fought for. Yet, a year later, it's all forgotten because Tuberville is very clear with his racism, while McConnell's saying, oh, that doesn't belong in this party. Meanwhile, this is Mitch McConnell, and this is your party. Tuberville still in the party. He's not being kicked out because, again, he represents what the party is. Last couple of things. I just want to show you even more context, if it was even needed. Here is Tuberville at a Trump rally, and listen to what he said back then.
Democratic Party, they have a majority. They could stop this crime today. Some people say, well, they're soft on crime. No, they're not soft on crime. They're pro-crime. They want crime. They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. They are not owed that.
I'm not sure you could be any more clear in your racism than that. Talking about how the Democratic Party wants reparations, which, first of all, is not. I wish they did. They do not. I don't think there may be one or two Congress people, maybe AOC, maybe Rashida Tlaib, maybe Cori Bush support it privately, but there's no big push to get reparations. That's very clear. But apart from that, he is equating, or he is saying that they want reparations because they want to give reparations to the people doing the crime. Reparations would go to descendants of slaves, black people. He is saying black people are doing the crimes. You can't get any clearer than that. So for anyone in the press, especially the way the mainstream is covering this, to be surprised or, taken off guard or trying to hammer him to make him sound not racist, make him push him into a position where he says, actually, yes, white nationalists are racist. Anyone trying to, whitewash his history here in any way, or his words in his statements in any way, are doing a disservice. You should be very clear about who Tommy Tuberville is, and also very clear about what the Republican Party is.